Hello everyone and welcome to another scrapbook process video. You can see I have in front of me some photos of Disneyland. It's part of the collaboration that I'm doing with my good friend Julie Carrier. She is so much fun to travel with and I'm so glad she suggested that we do this as a collab. So you can see I've got nighttime photos mainly of the castle in front of me. And Julie's video has already gone up, so make sure you check the links below and the link at the end for the playlist, and also a link directly to her video as she scrapbooks at Disneyland at night. The one that we just did was in the Star Wars area. So this one is a little bit different. It's got a lot of pinks and purples in it. And we didn't get a fireworks show when we were there. We got the light show. And I found when it came to selecting my photos that it was really tricky to narrow them down. The light show on the castle was amazing and I took a lot of photos, so I had to narrow it down. So I've got my hero photo here of the night show. I've got this one here. It's not particularly good in quality, but I do love the colors and all the light rays. So they're the two that I have chosen to print a little bit larger. And you can see I'm showing you my photos here, how they are printed. I've got some 2x3s here. A few of the creative design team girls have been using 2x3s and I think it's a really cute little size. So I'm going to have this one on the left side. Even though this was taken at the end of the night when most of the people had left the park, I just think that's a good introduction to the light show that's going on. And what I want to talk to you about is eliminating the click happy photos. When I'm at a light show or fireworks, it really makes me want to capture so many of those moments. There's so many different colorways that can come with fireworks, different types of fireworks, the same with a light show. So while we didn't have fireworks for the show in the evening at Disneyland, we did get this amazing light show. What you can end up with is so many similar photos. So you really need to narrow it down because I had a lot that were the same. What I tend to do when I'm at fireworks or something like this is that I will position my camera in the spot that I want to focus on. In this instance, it's the castle. But once I've got my camera in position, I don't look through the screen at the show. I just press the button and click when I think it's the right moment, and I'm looking at the whole show over the top of my camera without actually looking through the lens. And that way I can enjoy the experience so much more. Otherwise, I could just be looking at it on the television. So if you can set your camera up or hold it fairly steady and just click the photos and just look over the top and enjoy the whole experience, I think that that is so much better than just looking through your actual phone screen. You can see I've got quite a few photos. I've actually printed the same one twice, so I'll have to eliminate one of those, but I've still selected quite a few of these and they are my favorites. So when it comes to looking at the favorite photos, this one here of the castle all lit up like this with the Aladdin sort of setting on it, I really loved that one and I thought it was quite dramatic. I have another similar one here with the same sort of colors, but I really liked the light beam. And then this one here, even though it is not the best photo, I still love it because I love all of this light, and I've got the silhouette really well here of the Walt and Mickey statue. So I have narrowed it down a little bit. If you've ever been to Disneyland where there's one of these light shows, things move along very fast and it can be hard to capture photos. So that's why I tend to just take quite a few, but then I've got to go back and eliminate them because I don't need them all on my layout. And of course, the main street was all lit up with the light show as well, but it was very, very busy along this area when the light show was happening and it was hard to capture a good photo. So I've decided to leave those off because I actually quite like this photo here and this photo here of Julie towards the end of the night. This one is looking down as we were leaving the park and the castle's in the background, and this is when we're about to leave. It was well after closing time because what happened was the light show finished, we went off and did the Buzz Lightyear ride, and when we came out from that, all these people were running down towards Hyperspace Mountain, and we asked one of them what was happening, and we were told if you're in the queue before closing time, which was 10 p.m. on that night, they don't turn you back. They just keep putting everybody through until everyone's gone through. So we didn't leave the park until, I don't know, it was after 11 o'clock. Now I have quite dark photos here and I've got to choose some paper. I love this one of Julie and I at the castle, and I've got a photo of the castle that I'm going to use for my front page that was taken just before this one with nobody standing in front of it because the park was pretty much emptied out by then. And when I was thinking about pattern papers, I thought of this kintsugi paper here. I love the gold through this, and where is that big feature photo here? And I think the gold and the blue will work really well on that, but I may have to give this a little bit of a treatment. So I'm going to leave this paper out. I think that is going to work. I'm not going to use a whole sheet of it, but I think this paper is going to work quite well with all of my photos. The other paper I thought of using is the Floral Charms paper. I used this just in my previous video, so I don't know if I've got any of that Blackberry Bliss paper left over. I think it might be, no, that's that one. So maybe I don't have any of that pattern paper left. These are all just the floral sides, so I have used all of that up. But I could bring in something like these two. I think that would work quite well. I'm just going to put my photos on top and see if I like it. I think the teal is just the wrong sort of blue, but I quite like how these two work together. And I have just one sheet of this left over. So I think what I'm going to do is just to use a small amount of it. That's going to bring out the colours in the gorgeous trees that were flowering. It's going to bring out the colours in the castle here. It's sort of in a lot of the colours here. I think this Berry Burst paper is going to look really good with this one here, but I think I want to do a little bit of treatment to this one. So I'm going to trim my photos down and plan out how the photos are going to sit on the page, and then I'll work out how I'm going to trim down these papers here. But one thing I do want to point out is that I will be doing photo mats. So I'm going to have a white photo mat, and I think I'm going to double mat. Now I brought out some Secret C because I thought that is nice and dark, but it's sort of not quite the right colour with this. I may just go for Night of Navy because this has sort of a purplish type tone, and I think it works really well with this one. The other thing I could do, if I can stretch my paper far enough, is maybe bring in this pattern paper as my photo mat. See how that just makes that pop so much. And because there is a wash to this paper and it's quite subtle, what I think I might do is just bring in some two-tone cardstock and mat my photos like this. That really does make the purpley and pink colours pop, and I think it's going to work really well on all of my photos. So I'm going to do some trimming and then I will be back. So I've double matted all of my photos here with White Willow and then with Berry Burst, and I've laid them out across my page with the smaller ones on the bottom. They're like the little sub-stories of my main photos at the top here. And what I'm thinking about doing is actually triple mounting the hero ones here. So when I put Night of Navy with this, you can see how that really brings in the richness of that photo. And then I'm going to try it with this one here, and I'm loving how that's looking. So with my photos, I've actually trimmed these down. I'll just move this out of the way so that they are 1/8 of an inch smaller than the true size photo. So a 6x4 photo will measure 3 7/8 by 5 7/8. My white mat is at the true photo size, which is 4x6, and my Berry Burst mat is 1/8 of an inch larger than that, so 4 1/8 by 6 1/8. So when I come to do these two as the photo mats, they're going to be cut at 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. I don't often triple mat my photos, but I think it's really going to work in the scheme of things when I start bringing in the pattern paper. So I need 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, and I need 2 pieces. I'm just going to triple mat the 2 main photos. So this is a handy sort of little trick when you want to really bring out the main photos, bring the focus into those. And for these ones, because they are both on the outside edges of the papers, and this is just going to make these 2 focal points stand out even more. And I know 1/8 of an inch sort of scare people sometimes, and you definitely don't have to do that, but I do love how these 1/16 inch increments look when you're matting your photos. So now I'm bringing in my paper, And I'm thinking what I'm going to do, I've already cut this. I'm going to have this going along the bottom here. So I'm just going to move this one out of the way. I've already brought my glass mat in because I'm going to have a little bit of an experiment and hope that it works, because I know that the gold foil will resist ink blending. And this Misty Moonlight colour that is on this paper here is just not quite deep enough for me. It looks wonderful. You could definitely leave it like this, but I think I want to do some ink blending on this to try and deepen it up a little bit. So what I've done a little test area. Because I've cut this piece of paper in half, I don't have any leftovers to have like a little experiment with. So I have just done pencil lines underneath my photos here for their placements, and they'll be my little swatch sort of areas. I know that's very hard to see on camera, but I've got one swatch area here and one here. So I'm going to bring in Night of Navy, and I'm just going to bring this little silicone pad in here so that I can put my ink on there and it's not sort of moving around. So normally I would go off the edge of the page and bring it in, but I want to do a little swatch to see what happens. Now, I might have to work quite hard to deepen this up. I'm not sure. I'm going to try first with Night of Navy. And then I'm thinking what I might do, I might need to re-ink this, but I don't know if I've got a Night of Navy re-inker yet. But I do like how that is deepening that section up. I'm just going to brush this off a little bit, and I'm going to bring in Secret Sea and see if I like that just a little bit more. So just open this one up, ink it up, and now I'm going to do that inside where the other 4x3 photo is going to go. So I'm just putting quite a bit of ink onto my brush here. My brush actually needs cleaning. It's still got ink there from quite some time ago. So I'm just thinking the Secret Sea has a gorgeous sort of depth to it, but the Night of Navy is bringing in a little bit more of a purple tone. So if I put my photo up against this area here, and I know they're only small sort of areas, I'm thinking I like the Night of Navy more. So what I'm going to do is actually ink the edges with Secret Sea. So I'm going to come in and do all my Secret Sea first. And I don't mind if I don't get a totally smooth blend. There is texture on this paper with the gold foil, but you can see how that is transforming this paper into a deeper colour, and I really like that with my photos as opposed to the Misty Moonlight. So anytime you've got gold foiling on pattern paper, you can bring in ink blending, and what that is going to do is alter the colour a little bit. Now for this one, I'm going tone on tone with this. I'm staying within the same colour family, and I'm just bringing this in just to deepen the edges of the paper. There's still ink on here, so you can see I'm not always going in circles as such. I'm just going to move this white out of the way because I don't want to get any ink on that. And the glass mat is good because I can just come in off the edge and it's just so easy to clean. So these old brushes, I've got quite a lot of ink contained in here, so they're not actually blending as well as they should. I need to clean them. So I am coming off the page, but then once a little bit of ink is sort of transferred from there, I can come around and do like sweeping motions. So I'm going to bring in a brand new Stampin' Up brush for Night of Navy and see if I can get the ink transferring just a little bit easier. I'm having to work fairly hard here. So already I can see this is loading up way more ink than what my other brush was doing. So it does need a clean. The difference between these two also is the surface size. So I can come in and get a lot of ink on here. It's okay for me if a little bit of the Misty Moonlight comes through. But I do have another brush that I want to experiment with. So I recently bought these. I think I bought them from Amazon, but it might have been from Craft Online. I'm not too sure. I'll work it out and I'll put a link below. But for this sort of thing, I'm thinking I'm going to get a lot more transfer of ink. And I love that they're coloured handles as well. What I need to do is get this out of the way, the glass mat. Let's see how this is working. Oh, that's really easy. Now, this was super easy to do because I haven't loaded this up with a lot of ink already. But if you have something like this, they will work really, really well with getting a whole lot of ink onto a pattern paper like this really, really quickly. Now, you do have to be careful of pounce marks. I haven't used these before. They do come in a set of, I think it's 8, but you can see already I am changing the look of this pattern paper, and I'm going to bring the other one in so you can have a look at it. If you don't want to get inky fingers, you can wear gloves or you can put a post-it note on your fingers with the sticky side sort of up so that you can protect your fingers, but the Stampin' Up! Inks wash out really, really easily. I'm really happy with the depth of what I've got here. It's a little bit darker on one side than the other, so I could bring in some more Secret C if I wanted to. I'm just going to keep working on this and bringing in more of the Night of Navy. Now, one thing you do want when you start doing things like this is to get the re-inkers for your inks, because I have noticed with Stampin' Up! Inks, I do have to re-ink them a lot more often than the CTMH ones that I used to have. So the good thing about this one is that I can put that away and it's not going to transfer ink onto anything else. So now I just need to find that other sheet, which I think is just hiding under here, so I can show you the difference. Now, this is looking a little bit dull because there is ink on top of the foil. So I'm just going to get a tissue and give this a rub. You can use a cloth if you like. And you can see that the gold foil is coming back to life here. You just need to rub it off from the actual piece of paper. And I think taking time to do this is well worth it. So now my gold foil is nice and shiny again, and I'm just going to bring that in to compare. And now I'm going to grab a photo and put that up against this. Let's see if I can do a half and half, so you can see the difference. I think the deeper colour just works so much better with these nighttime photos. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink up this other piece for the other side here. So this one is for my right page. I am just going to write that on there. And that's because that's where I've done that little testing underneath. I'm just thinking I might bring in a little bit more of the Secret C and just darken up these outside areas here. Now you can see that's moving around quite a lot. This is where this silicone matte's really... Sorry, everything on my desk is jiggling. This is where the silicone mats are really good because it does prevent things wobbling around too much. I hardly have to hold that ink pad. Actually, I don't have to hold it at all. It's just a habit, I think. And normally I'd be working off to the right of me, but I've set my glass mat up on this side. I'm just bringing a little bit more depth into the outside edges of these, and then I'm going to go over this again with my, I can even pick ink up from my mat here and put that on. But I'm going to go over this piece again with my tissue here. I do have a soft cloth, but this is quite dark ink, and with a tissue I'm not going to have to worry about washing my cloth again. Absolutely love how that's come out. Don't worry about these blotch bits, as I said before. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this one, and I don't have to wipe any of this off. I can just go straight in and apply all the ink. Now, for those of you that are worried about your ink pads getting all messy, because you could see when I was using the brushes, the ink was going over the sides here, you can clean them up. I've just got a water baby wipe here and just go around the edges of them to clean them up a little bit. To me, if my ink pads get a little bit messy like this, it just means that I'm using them and that they're well loved. But I did wipe this first with my tissue that I had but you can go around and you can clean these up quite well. If you ever receive an ink pad that you've ordered and it has leaked a little bit in postage, that can happen because these ink pads are quite juicy when you first get them. This is all you need to do with it. Just wipe it a little bit with a tissue or a dry paper towel and then go around with a wet wipe and clean them up a little bit. I do wipe off the excess because I want to keep them looking as nice as possible, I suppose. But then I can just use my wet wipe and go in with that on my glass mat here and then get my paper towel and just wipe that off, and it's all clean and ready for the next project. Glass mats are wonderful. I do have silicone mats. We used to have really big ones from close to my heart. I still have one that's full size, but over time it got quite messy and I got some holes in it, but that's not going to happen with the glass mat. So this to me is a really good product. The grid lines are in centimetres. That's the only downside for me because I work in inches when it comes to scrapbooking. But this as a work surface is really, really handy. I'm going to go away and wash up just a little bit because me holding this wet wipe here is just transferring more ink onto my hands, and then I'll be back. I've got all my pattern pieces laid down here, and I have used that Floral Charms paper that has this pattern on the other side. When I trimmed this, I made sure that I trimmed it so that there would be the orientation, this amount of paper left over in case I want to use this side. But I think it just adds the right amount of texture and brings some more of that berry burst colour through. And I'm really happy with how this looks. I'm just going to bring the other piece of this in so you can have a look side by side. The depth of this looks really good with these photos, so don't be afraid of inking up your specialty paper when it has a gold foil treatment on it. I really love how this has turned out, and I've cut some 1/8 of an inch strips of the gold foil to run across the bottom and in between all the patterns. Now I was going through my dies and thinking I could try and find something that represented like a fireworks spray or something like that. But then I remembered way back in another video, I think I talked about it, these gold foil pieces have some gorgeous star elements here. So this one here, I think that is going to work really beautifully. I've got these magical stars here. They're going to work as well. I've got 2 lots of those, and I've got some other little star sprays. So I'm going to cut these ones out and place them around my page. It's much easier to cut them rather than peel the backing off and then try and adhere them down. But what I'm also thinking of doing is bringing some ink blending into the background page here. So on the white, I'm thinking of doing that. So I'm just going to cut these out and sort of place them. I definitely want to use these ones. Now, what I might do with these is not use that whole panel in one go. So I am going to cut around this section here so that I can have some over in this section, and then I can bring some over here, and I'm going to do the same thing for this side as well. I just want to make sure that I've got the backing paper there. So it's much easier to handle these when you cut this section down. I'm not sure that I have any other dies that would do the job for this. So this might be all the embellishing that I need to do. I think with the gold foiling and everything on there, I'm really happy with how this looks. So I may not need to do much else, or much more, I should say. So I'm going to bring in some scratch paper. Just going to move this off to the side. I haven't adhered my photos down yet, but I have some Night of Navy left on my brush here. Actually, that probably looks a little bit like Secret Sea. So I do need to clean my brush off a little bit, but I'm thinking it might be fun. I'm just going to rip this up so that I can put a little piece of this behind my photo. Might be fun to have a little bit of blending going on behind these photos just to help break up the white here. So I am going to do that. I don't even need to ink up my brush anymore. I just want a small amount of this coming out from the side of the photos. If I go over the top of this gold here, it doesn't matter. I can just rub that off. And you can see my hand's cleaned up pretty well. So it really doesn't sort of stain your hands for too long, the Stampin' Up! Ink. So I'm going to come into this section here with a bit of it. and blend it out. And then I want some coming out this side here. So when you have ink on your brushes, you don't necessarily have to re-ink them all up to get the blend that you want. I was thinking about doing some water splatters as well, but I don't know. I quite like simple pages. This is a pretty easy formula. So this is a 6-inch piece, this is a 1.5-inch piece, and the strips are 1/8 of an inch pieces. So it's quite easy to replicate. Now I've got a little bit of the blue here, so I'm just going to come down into this section so that when it's in the album, you can sort of see that it's carrying across. I am going to adhere these down at the bottom so that I can lift them up and place my rub-on pieces, because I can add more adhesive to the top part of these. And this one I want to pop up a little bit because I'm going to do an interactive tag, something a little bit different from what I normally do. This one I'm going to make a little pocket with. Now you've seen me do this many times before. I'm going to get out my white scraps and create a little pocket for an opening tag I'm going to do. So it's going to fit in here, and I'm going to do something a little bit special with this bit. But basically I'm going to take all of these offcut pieces. Now this is from Print Then Cut. When I do that, it leaves that sort of mark on there. I can use these sort of like foam tape and put them around and build it all up. I've shown it many times on my channel here, but it's just a way of doing this, and then you don't get the stickiness of the foam tape getting in the way of your little slidey piece here. Now I have a slight sticky bit at the bottom here from the tape. I'm just going to cover that up because I don't want that to get in the way. I do want the top section of this to poke out. So that looks pretty good. I think I've guessed that quite well, because I do want that to show so that people know to pull that out. I am going to do a fastener, and then my journaling is going to go on the inside, but I am going to do something else to that tag, so hang around for that. And I do need to put more layers on this one so it sits up just that little bit more. Now these are not the same width because I did the triple mat on that. So what I'm doing is I'm lining up the berry burst edges. And then I'm going to bring in my rub-ons here. I think I'll use this one. I'm going to take away the backing piece. Put this down. I could do it so it goes over top of photo. That might look rather good. Am I brave enough to actually do this? I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. I did originally think that I wanted them peeking out from behind, but I'm going to lose some of these pieces. But I have found that these do go over layers fairly well. Now, I'm really nervous that I'm doing this on camera. Okay, let me peel this up just gradually. Cut my fingernails the other day and now I can't do anything. Alrighty, I'm having a little peek before you guys do. I actually don't mind it. Just need to rub a little bit harder. Some of this hasn't transferred. A little bit harder here. I really love how that looks. I really didn't know if that would work or not. I do have a little bit of this one, the base of it left here. So I am just going to try and line that back up. I can see through these holes. And make sure that these bits go down. That really looks quite special. I tell you, I was holding my breath the whole way through that. I wasn't sure that was going to work. So I'm just going to bring that up to camera. I'm quite pleased with how that looks. That is rather cute. I probably could have put a little bit more ink down. Where's my tea ruler? How can I get things so crooked? I think sometimes it's really hard to get things right when you are not over the top of your project, because we try to keep our heads out of the way. This one along a little bit. There we go. That looks a bit better. How cool is that? I really love how that looks. We didn't get fireworks on the night, but now I'm sort of creating my own. So now I want to put some of these elements coming out from here, and I'm going to cut this bit away, because I'm going to tuck this one so that it's like this. And this is why I haven't adhered my photos at the top. Do I want it coming like that or like this? I think I just like it like this here. So it will look like it's coming out of the side of the photo from underneath. These rub-ons, honestly, I think I'm a little bit obsessed with them. I think these little touches just make everything look that much better. Slide this underneath. That's just a gorgeous little effect to that. So I'm really happy with how that looks. So I am going to adhere this photo down before I move it around again. I think what I'm going to do with the rub-ons is just keep them in the white area here and also where I've got my ink blending. So I'm going to build this up and put this down. I'm going to show you quickly how I'm going to do my little tag piece. I've got more strips here just to build that up. I'm just going to put that off to the side. I'm still so excited about this. So my little tag here, oops, that's not my tag. This is my tag. My little tag piece here, I've just custom sized this. It is, if I fold this out, so this is a 2 by 3 inch white photo mat, and then I've trimmed my photo down, and this piece is 7.5 inches by 2.25 inches, and then I have just scored it and folded it here. Now I want to do a little score line along here so that it will fold up, but I don't want to put the score line on the back because I want that to remain flat. So I'm just going to come in here and do a little score line, and then I'm going to adhere this piece down. I'm going to be fairly generous with my tape here because I want it to stay. And I'll just burnish that. So now I've got a little folding tab area. I need to burnish this piece so that it folds back nice and crisply. I'm going to mark the center of this so I can put a little hole in it. So I want to put some string on there. And I might do a little gold finisher to the top. Actually, I have a brand new product. I don't know, this might be too long. So I'm going to use the patterned tag, can't say it, the patterned tags dies. And this little one, and then I will fold that over at the top, and that's going to be my finisher in gold. And I'm going to print up my journaling to fit inside this area here. So I've got my mini stamp and cut and emboss machine, or my mini emboss and cut machine. I never get the names right. And this is why you keep all these tiny little bits of gold foil. So I can cut that out of that tiny piece down there, and I can still save this. I know it's silly, but it's gold foil, so it's a little bit precious. So I'm just going to run this through. This is the handiest little machine. It's so light and easy to use, and it does a fabulous job. Now you can see this is something that you do have to think about. Now, I didn't think about it because I'm still all excited about these little gold elements here. I've run that through, and these plates are quite marked, so that has left some texture on this piece of gold foil. It's not going to worry me too much when it comes to cutting tiny pieces like this, but what I would normally do is trim my piece of paper or foil out to the size of the die so that I can just cut that piece and save that without getting those marks on them. Now, obviously, I can't run this through the machine to get the little hole. I'm going to have to make the hole myself. So I'm just going to pop this back in. These tags are a whole lot of fun to use. I used them on the Peaceful Days scrapbooking workshop kit, and I just used the plain one. I didn't use the pattern one, but I know I'm going to be using this in the upcoming 31 Days of Christmas cards that is coming very, very soon with the creative design team. It's an event that we run every October, and we have 2 guest designers as well, which is really exciting. And we make Christmas card videos every single day for October. So that is open now for registration. So that's quite exciting. You can check out all the information. I just had a graphic up there, but I will put a link below for that as well. Now I'm just going to use this Vera punch here because I want a smaller hole than my normal single hole punch. So I'm just putting all the pieces here together, And when I'm punching a hole, even though this is a self-healing mat, I just bring out an old cutting plate so that I can use that. Now, you don't have to apply a lot of pressure. This is 2 pieces of cardstock, so if it doesn't go through the first time, I can just line that back up and do it again. And I've got my little hole, and then I'm going to use my Barely Art glue, and that's all going to sit perfectly. But I do need to trim this little back piece off just a little bit because you can see it coming through from the hole behind. So that's better. And when I put the glue on here, I'm going to put tweezers on it as well so that it will hold it and adhere nice and firmly. But I like how that is going to look. So I've got a few little finishing touches I need to do and apply some more rub-ons, and I'll be back very shortly. So you can see I've just got a couple of things left to do here. I do love how this is coming together, and I've added in some little embellishments here that are from the Wanted to Say dies. I'm not sure that these are still available, but they had a bubble outline, but this cute little star arrangement here means that you can just do one cut and all the stars will be connected, which makes it really easy to adhere, and the arrangement is all done for you. So I sort of love that. So I thought that was very appropriate for the title that I've settled on, Wish Upon a Star. That is done with the Alphabet a la Mode dies. As usual, everything that I have used that is available will be listed below. I'm not sure these iridescent foil gems are still available, but they have just the right touch of pink and gold in them, so I thought they'd make a good addition to the layout. Now, I haven't finished with this one here yet. I need to show you what I'm going to do with this. You can see a random piece of paper here. I've got my tag all assembled with my journaling in here. It's sort of something I need to do now when I'm doing travel layouts. I want to type up the information because I can't write this small. So that's why a lot of these pages will have my journaling all typed up. It's just so that I can fit more on there. Now for this, I have done the layers as I was showing you, but when I adhere this down, I haven't got any adhesive here yet, it's going to automatically hit this layer here. So I need to put a piece of paper there to smooth that out so that when I put my tag in and out, when it's in a memory protector, I will be cutting a little slit here so that it's easy to access, but that will slide in and out really easily, rather than not having that piece there. And then, so the way I'm going to do this, I don't know of any other way to do it. So what I'm going to do is put some adhesive on the back here, and I'm positioning it within this frame that I have set up. Now I'm going to be fairly generous, especially across the top area. And then I'm also going to put adhesive on these pieces here so that I can adhere it all within one go. I just want to make sure that I've got plenty on here because it is an interactive piece. So now I'm going to turn this over, holding this in place, lining it up on my page and laying that down like so. I'm hoping that it's nice and straight. I haven't pushed too hard yet. This bit is not quite straight. Need to get my little Cricut tool out here so I can lift it up a little bit. But that way I know that this piece here is within the cavity of the framework that I constructed. And then this piece will easily slide up and down, and I will be able to easily put that back in to where it goes without it hitting these layers here. It's only one sheet of paper and it is a gold foil paper, so it stands up a little bit more. The height of it is a little bit higher than a pattern piece of paper, but you still want to do this even if it is a pattern piece of paper so that it's not frustrating to put that back in. So that's my finished layout. That's all I have to show you for today. I did finish this with some gold twine. One thing I do want to mention, Julie and I were just chatting just before I was getting set to record this last little bit of the train station here. And I don't know if you remember, but there were a whole heap of spotlights behind it. So she had used her phone editing to eliminate those. I still used Historian, which used to be called Memory Manager back in Creative Memories days. And I'd already imported this photo in there. So I just used the clone tool and got rid of those spotlights, and I think that has made a real difference to this little photo down here. So it's really good to be collaborating with Julie on this, because we are scrapbooking the same sort of group of photos. We might select different photos, but we are both scrapbooking Disneyland at night and the light show and walking around Disneyland as well at night. So it's fun to be able to do this. If you have traveled with your friends, you can set yourself some goals and scrapbook together. You can get together if you live close enough, or if you don't, get onto FaceTime Messenger or something like that, or Zoom, and get your photos out and scrapbook them together. It's a whole lot of fun. Julie and I are doing this across continents, so sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and she's had a bright idea, and I think how fabulous that would be to apply to my page, and it just makes scrapbooking these memories of this trip with her that much more fun than just doing them on my own. So remember, I will have a link below to her video, which will have gone up yesterday, and also to our playlist of our Disneyland adventures. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.